Alright everybody, welcome back to Chasing the Wild Wonder YouTube channel. We are finally back to working on the Airstream. It has been about a month or so, I think, since we did any work on this thing. And the last thing that I did on it, I actually didn't make a video about. It was removing the belly pan and the tanks. And those are pretty straightforward, and it was kind of hard to film, and I was in a hurry when I was doing it, so I didn't do too much filming with that, but I will show you what I did. Basically, it's, you know, drilling out rivets underneath. And if you want to know how to remove those aluminum skins like that, you can go back and watch this video, which is removing the interior skins. And as you can see, there's now interior skins behind me. So you can go watch that video if you need to know kind of the process of how to remove those skins. And it's pretty similar. Removing the belly pan, except you're probably going to be laying on your back on the ground, which makes it a little more difficult, and your arms and shoulders get super tired by the end. But definitely highly recommend getting safety goggles instead of glasses, because crap will still kind of find its way around the glasses. So you can get goggles that kind of seal, or maybe even one of those full plastic face shields. That would be better because, well, you know, you don't want to get rust and dirt and nasty things in your eyes, because believe me, it happens. It happened to me several times, even though I was wearing safety glasses. Oh, that was a lot. Anyway, in this video, we are going to be cleaning up the frame, prepping it for paint. We'll probably start painting the main portion of the frame, and I'm going to show you what we're doing and what products we're going to use for that. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Alright, so before we get started, I just wanted to go over all the products that I'm going to be using to clean and prep the frame for painting. I'm going to clean the majority of the frame, the center of the frame, from this main beam to that main beam, the beams that run front to back, and then all the beams in between those, the cross beams. I'm going to do all that, get it painted before we lift the shell, and the reason for that is we're going to lift the shell using pole jacks, and those pole jacks are going to sit on plywood that's going to be sitting on the frame, and then I won't be able to get to that part of the frame that those jacks are sitting on, so I want to make sure that's all done before I set jacks on it. And then once I get the shell lifted, I'll be able to cut off the outriggers that need to be replaced and weld on the new ones, and then get those all cleaned and painted as well. So for today, I wanted to go over just what I'm going to do and what I decided to use. I've restored a 1987 Jeep CJ7 before with my dad when I was a teenager, and so I'm familiar with doing this kind of work, and we sandblasted the frame on that Jeep, and so I debated, oh, should I sandblast it, because that is a quick, easy way to get every inch and nook and cranny of a frame, because if you look at this thing, there's lots of bends and nooks and crannies and hard to reach places, and you know, just blasting sand everywhere is an easy way to get it all cleaned up. If I were to have someone else do it, it would cost a couple $1,000, plus I'd have to actually take the shell off and drive the frame to their shop and have them do that. So I did not want to spend that kind of money on it. So what I decided on doing was I found Eastwood products, so I decided to go with their Rust Encapsulator Platinum. Now, this allows you to essentially paint over the rust, and it encapsulates the rust. It neutralizes it, it stops it from growing, and stops it from spreading, and it's a very tough paint. I think they said they put this through, this particular paint, the Platinum, which is their strongest formula, they put it through about 1,500 hours of saltwater testing, which is, you know, just blasting it with salt water. If you know, salt water is very corrosive to metal, and it lasted, you know, 1,500 hours before there was any signs of it started to corrode. So decided to go with this. Is about $40 for a quart, and I got 2 quarts. Hopefully that gives me enough to cover all this frame. If not, I'll have to order some more. Now, you do still have to clean up the frame and get the surface rust off. You know, there's a lot of flaky stuff that kind of just easily falls off. You do want to clean all that off. The main thing is you just don't have to get it down to bare metal, right? Like, you can just kind of brush it off, make sure it's, you know, loose, and you don't have to like sand it down and get all the pits out. You can kind of keep that rust that's on there, and the paint will help, or the rust encapsulator will help neutralize that rust. So that makes it a lot easier, a lot faster, because, you know, honestly, there's a majority of this frame is not that bad. There's still a lot of paint on it. There's still a lot of areas where there's not rust. If you haven't heard of Eastwood, you can go check out their YouTube channel. I'll put a link in the description below, but they've got lots of great videos to kind of show you what each of their products do, how to use them, how to apply them. Really great channel, well done videos as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this DeWalt angle grinder that my father-in-law had, and so I'm borrowing that, and I just got a, if you can see that, I just put a knotted wire brush on the end of it, and I'm just gonna take this to the frame, start cleaning it all up. I got a couple different options. I got this one that is, you know, kind of forward facing. I got this one that's more of a disc shape. I also got a, what's called a flap disc that you can put on the grinder, and it's just a bunch of flaps of sandpaper. So I figured if I need to, if there's some really rough areas, I can, you know, kind of take that as a third step on the frame. So that's going to be the majority of the cleaning. I also got some wire brushes for the drill. You can see that there. You know, you can get these, they just go on your drill. And obviously this is not going to be as high of an RPM as the grinder will be, but this might help me get into more of those hard to reach areas. You know, a lot of these cross beams here, you can see they're not fully enclosed cross beams, and so, you know, I can take this drill and kind of get up underneath that a lot easier than with the grinder. I got a handful of different Eastwood products that we can talk about. One thing that I have to do after I get everything cleaned up is I have to spray down the entire frame with the pre-painting prep. You know, it's kind of like an acetone or a mineral spirits. You know, it just removes any like grease, wax, silicones, anything that would prevent the paint from adhering to the frame. So I'm going to spray that all over. You wipe it off with a rag, and then you can paint. A satin underbody coating that is called Extreme Chassis Black. So once I get everything painted with the Rust Encapsulator Platinum, this is actually kind of a silver color. I'm going to use the Extreme Chassis Black to paint the A-frame on the front of the trailer, and then in the wheel wells, basically any area of the frame that's going to be visible from the outside. I don't really, personally, I don't want it to be silver. Maybe some people like that look. I just kind of want that black look. I'm planning on all the underbelly to be a matte black color. We're going to polish the shell. It's going to be that nice, beautiful mirror finish. And then we're going to do matte black accents. And so part of that's going to be the underbelly and the frame, all that's going to be a matte black. You know, there's areas of the frame like inside the tubular, the main front to back beams. You know, those are fully enclosed tubes, and so you can't get inside there to brush them off, but they have what is called internal frame coating. You can see that. And this comes with a hose that you plug into it, and you can just stick that hose into the different areas if there's any holes in your frame, and just spray that and just give it a coating, and that helps neutralize, again, helps neutralize the rust that's inside the frame. So it's better than nothing. There isn't a whole ton of like internal frame on this thing. It's really, I think, just in those main beams, and so I'm just gonna get with a quick coat of inside there, just with wherever I can get, as much as I can get, just to kind of help neutralize any rust that's in the internal frame. The last thing that I'm gonna use on this project is this. And this is a rubberized undercoating. So if you've seen any like truck beds or anything like that where they have that kind of that rough rubbery type coating, this just adds a little bit more protection. So I'm going to use this on the underbelly, like in the wheel wells, and probably on the tank pans, the water tank pans. Just to give it a little added protection, that extra layer of, just when rocks bounce up and hit it, the rubber coating will help prevent it from getting dings and chips in the paint, and that paint will hopefully, it'll be a lot tougher and won't chip as easy, which will obviously then lead to rusting, because then there'll be bare metal exposed. So we'll use that on the underbelly, and yeah, that's it for paint. So again, this is all from Eastwood. And then the last thing is just make sure you have good personal protective equipment. So what I make sure I have is, again, I talked about these in the beginning of the video, but I just got these new safety goggles that actually seal up around your eyes just to make sure nothing gets in. I got an N95 mask. Luckily, my dad was able to get these through his work, because right now I could not find or order any of these anywhere. And of course, ear protection, because we are inside basically a tin can, and these grinders can get really loud, especially when you're grinding on the metal, and that's just gonna echo and reverberate. So protect your ears, right? It's not worth damaging your hearing. And then of course, gloves. You're working with high-powered tools, protect your fingers. So yeah, that's what I'm using to get this job done. I'll put links to all this stuff down in the description to make it easier for you guys to find. Okay, so before we get started on cleaning up the frame, I wanted to show you just the Outriggers and kind of what condition they're in and what to look for replacing them. I ended up getting 11 new Outriggers. Now there is a total of 25 Outriggers on there, so we're replacing almost half of them, which is quite a bit, which we expected. Our particular Airstream had a lot of water damage and a lot of subfloor rot, so I probably didn't have to replace 11. I probably could have went with like 8 maybe, but again, I wanted to make sure that I was kind of like those 3. I was like, do they need to be replaced? I don't know. I just went on the safe side and said, let's just go ahead and replace them, because I want to make sure that this is structurally sound and that we're doing it right, and that, again, this Airstream, I want it to last for another 30, 40 years and have a good value. So I'll show you kind of which ones we're replacing, what we looked for, and why I decided to replace those particular ones. Okay, so you can see this Outrigger here, it's pretty rusty, but if you look at it, just look at it, like there's no holes in it, and it's pretty solid. It's still pretty thick. So that one I didn't need to replace. It's got its structural integrity intact. So we're gonna grind that one down, clean it up, and paint over it. This one was one of the ones that was like, that's not too bad, but here really is just this point, is starting to really get weak, and I didn't want to let that continue to rust, because there really isn't much left here. You can feel it's pretty thin right here. So decided to go ahead and replace that. You can see it's just getting eaten away. Okay, and this is one that is just a clearly needs to be replaced. It's got big holes in it. It's being eaten away. And this is the one that is in the wheel well. And so, this is just exposed to water from, water splashing up from the wheels, and it's always on the outside. So this one, obviously pretty big hole, I can stick my finger through it. So that one, obviously just wanted to replace. It's probably still structurally sound, just because of where the holes are. But, it's already pretty rusted, so I just wanted to get a new piece of metal in there. That's how you know what to look for replacing those Outriggers. Anyway, I'll make a whole video once we get to that about just how I'm going to replace those Outriggers, and so that'll be in another video, so keep an eye out for that. All right guys, so last night I got the frame cleaned up, most of the rust brushed off, and it's looking really good. I'm super happy with how the frame is looking so far, and even the outriggers that I decided to not cut off and replace. I got as far as the wheel wells and the axles, so now it's time to take those off, get them out of the way, so it's easier to get to the frame where we need to brush it off where the wheels are, get those out of the way, because we just want to make sure that this thing is clean, painted all the way, 100% coverage. I got my father-in-law, Tom, to help me, so let's get outside and start taking those axles off.
Hi, I'm Bob from Tom's Auto. We're here today at the AOK down here with Chasing the Wild Wonder. We're gonna help out Ben and Lacey on removing the axles on their Airstream. I brought some tools here from the shop today. We don't have a compressor here, so we've got some cordless tools by DeWalt. I use these every day. We've got one that does have a cord for the grinding that you might have saw Ben using yesterday. We've got some hammers, punches that I know we've got some rusted bolts. We sprayed them down last night, so they should be really ready to go today, and let's get started.
Yeah, let's get these things off, and hopefully they come off easily. They've been on there for a while, so I have no idea how rusted they are to be on there. But
and I think, don't we have a little helper here too today?
Yeah, where is he?
Where is that guy?
Let's get to work!
All right.
I've been helping Tom get his YouTube channel started.
Hey,
So
awesome.
You can go follow him at Tom Auto. Search that up. He's got tons of great tips on mechanics for cars and transmissions and engines and lots of things. So you can go give him a follow if that's what you're working on. All right,
Let's get going.
let's get these axles off.
That's a heavy one, huh? There you go. Keep going. Whoa!
Yeah.
Hey! What do we use this for?
For putting your bolts in.
That's right. Okay, go. Okay. All right. Okay, there's the second wheel. Now what we're gonna do is we've got a shock absorber here. We do have some wires for the electronic brakes, but we went ahead and sprayed these bolts down here, and we've got a bolt behind here which we may have to go from the end under the frame and put a wrench on this side. And what we're gonna do, we'll play with one to see what it's gonna do. We've got our jack here so that we can support it, because we still got to take the other side off. Both sides have mounting flanges, and you know, being the first time, we got safety's got to be at the most here. This stuff's heavy, it's old, we don't know what, something may break. Let's get started. Let me get some tools and see what happens.
I gotta use a screwdriver.
Yeah, well, Papa used to have a screwdriver, and that's it.
Here guys, what's going on in here?
Well, we're getting ready to pull the second axle. We found an easier way to, didn't have to lift the axle to center out into for the one mount. There's slots in the frame, so it came right out this time. It's gonna go a lot easier. Ready there? Good. Bill? Try to
Stop. Bob and Bill. Bob, Bill show.
But I don't know how we're gonna move this thing. You know, trying to steady it on the jack, just not gonna do it.
No, say it out loud.
Put wheels on it?
Yeah,
Oh my
wheels on that.
God. back into it.
Oh man, this is a lot of dirty work. All right, so I got the majority of the frame cleaned. I'm gonna have to wait to get this until we get the shell lifted off. I just gotta get into like the tight corners and things like that. I just picked up some new brushes that are a little smaller to hopefully get into those little tight corners better where the rust flakes have built up. Now is where I start using like the drill and the smaller brushes, get all kinds of different angles going. This is the third day of cleaning the frame, so hopefully I can get it done today, not spend any more time on this, get it all painted up. Alright guys, I am ready to start painting, but before I can paint, I got the pre-painted prep like I showed you from Eastwood to clean off all the oils and grease and dirt off of your metal so that the paint will stick better and bond to the metal. So I'll just take a cloth like this one and spray down the area, wipe it off. Take a nice big whiff. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Probably should wear your mask. This is pretty exciting because this is the first thing that's actually going back onto Serenity and not being taken off.
What?
Paint. Like this is the first not removal or demolition. So here we go, first slab of paint.
It's metallic. It's pretty. I like it. Now this is exciting.
Alright everybody, got the frame done. It's all painted up and clean. It almost looks brand new, so I'm pretty stoked with how it turned out. Next step is going to be to lift the frame off the shell so we can replace the outriggers and get new subfloor on and everything underneath it. So stay tuned, make sure you subscribe so that you get notification when that video comes out as we try to figure out how the heck we're going to get this giant shell off the frame. That should be fun. See you next time.
Okay, you're on it.
Taking full advantage of the amenities here at the AOK.